Breaking news in the NBA. There was a meeting earlier today with Adam Silver where he told all 30 of the league's general managers that the NBA plans to instate, get this, anti-tanking measures as soon as next year. So it's kind of crazy how when these things are monetarily motivated, I should say, we'll talk about that a little bit, and when these things kind of get a little bit embarrassing, how quickly they are able to act on some of these things, because this really started becoming a conversation over the last like month. Like, it's always been a thing, it's always been a conversation, but it reached a fever pitch over the last month or so with the way some of these teams are moving. Okay, well, Utah, they're going to get astray here, but they said guys were hurt, so I'll take their word for it. They got minutes restrictions, etc. But they got to a point where they weren't playing some of these guys. It's very openly known that they're trying to lose games anyway. So causation, correlation, whatever. And then also some teams have had guys that they're not trying to really have play. And so they're just saying, hey, we'll get you back out there whenever you're fully healthy. Take as much time as you need. If you need a surgery, go get a surgery. We're seeing guys get surgeries to end their seasons effectively, all these other things. And we've also seen a new element to this over the last couple of seasons. And this is, I think, a strategic advantage that you have with the current climate and all that stuff, the CBA, et cetera. But teams are also saying, let's go ahead and go buy on these depreciated assets. And you have teams that are bad being buyers, which is interesting, right? And they're trying to go get, like Atlanta, right? Trying to go get a Trae Young and Anthony Davis, these guys, for pennies on the dollar for what their normal value would be, because, again, they're depreciated assets. And they're saying, we're going to continue to be bad this year, but, man, we hope to be good next year, right? And so at least with that, there's a quick turnaround in mind with that stuff. They want to be competitive, but for this season, they're not going to rush any of those guys back. Frankly, it doesn't matter. There's nothing you can do this season to change it this deep into the season anyway. So there's a lot of different elements to all of this, but we have a situation with all that stuff where I think this mostly comes from betting, gambling, whatever it is. I think it mostly comes from like the added revenue side of things for the NBA, where these separate entities are like, we got to clean this crap up, man. Like, this is making everything kind of murky on our side. This is messing with the money, man. We got to clear this up. And so Adam Silver, again, they want to get this stuff. He literally says here, stakeholders have intensified dialogue about combating tanking. So stakeholders is a very broad term, but that's what's happening here. Multiple sources with knowledge of Thursday's GM meeting, as well as late January competition committee meetings, told ESPN that the following concepts have been discussed to curb tanking. Firstly, first round picks can be protected only top 4 or top through 14, or top 14 plus, I guess is what he means to say there. Yeah, top 4 or top 14 plus. Ooh, that's interesting. That is something I threw out there in the video Trevor and I did recently, where we talked about the tanking stuff. That's interesting. I didn't know they actually thought about that. Because the protection stuff is low-key also a problem. Like, again, it's another strategic advantage. I can't fault teams for taking advantages that are there to them, but you can trade these picks, throw protections on them, and then be like, oh, this pick's 4 years down the road. I'll try to protect it, whatever it is, 3 years on it. And then, oh, man, things don't work out our way. If we're bad, man, we're going to bottom out and get that pick right back, right? There's nothing wrong with that, because that's how teams operate, and that's how they've operated for forever. But I think that is also a part of this, because we have teams that have picks protected this year that are trying their hardest to make sure they don't lose and give their pick up elsewhere, right? Pick swapping, all that stuff. It's also kind of a little bit of this too, but I think there's so many different reasons why teams want to lose. A lot of it also comes down to the fact that they can tell which draft classes are good. Like, I mean, Wemby, Zach, Ricochet, Cooper Flag, what the hell happened the middle year, right? And that's just one example. This happens all throughout NBA history. So when there's a top-end prospect there, they're like, hey, if there's like 5 top-end prospects, they're like, hey, there's enough for everybody to eat. Let's be bad so we can be good, ideally, unless things go catastrophically bad, like for some teams, and you wind up at the bottom of the cellar for 17 years because multiple bad decisions. But that's pretty interesting. Lottery odds freeze at the deadline or after or a later date. That was another thing that we thought about. I think a key thing with this is that there's going to be, as Trevor always says, unintended consequences for a lot of things. And with that one, with that one's kind of interesting because I think that opens the door for even good teams to be bad. Good teams can say, you know what, we'll just kind of tank half-hearted tank for the first, couple of months of the season, the first 3-4 months of the season. We'll just tank and then rev it up after that. Now, obviously, if you get injuries or whatever in the second half, that's not going to work out in your favor. But if you're able to execute that properly, all of a sudden you're going to get a pick that's like 10 slots higher than it probably would have been otherwise. Like that, it almost gives the ability to do like some reverse tanking. I don't know. It's kind of weird. Trade deadline or later date, though, that means that anything, though, the intended thing here is that anything else for the rest of the season after that, the last like 20 or so games, they don't count. So like where we are right now in the standings is where things would go for your odds for the lottery. No longer allowing a team to pick top 4 in consecutive years and or after consecutive bottom 3 finishes. Oh, that one is scathing. Wow. Imagine a team that just can't get right and stays at the bottom no matter what. They're not going to be allowed to get that top pick or a pick in the top 4 in consecutive years. What is consecutive in this? Are we talking about like 5 years? Are we talking 2 years? Like, what are we doing there? That could be interesting. I think they have to be careful not to push this too far because we want to get rid of tanking. Fine. Okay, fine. But these teams still have to have the ability to get better because it's not, as much as we want to act like it is, it's not an even playing field. There's the markets and all that stuff, market size, all that stuff matters. So the geographical location of a city, whether guys would want to, travel, maybe weather conditions, etc. There's a lot of different factors here that make it an uneven playing field because not everyone is interested in just money because maybe you can get 10% less somewhere else, but much rather live there instead. So I think there's a lot of different factors. Anyway, teams can't pick top 4 the year after making the conference finals. Who the hell is that? That's like targeted at OKC or something. Who the hell is picking top 4 the year after making? You know who that's targeted at? that's Dallas. That's Dallas last year. They went from the finals to number 1 overall pick. That's insane. That's a hyper-specific scenario, I think. Unless they're going to pull in. Because, like I mentioned OKC, but that would only be because OKC would be getting other teams' top picks, not their own. Like, obviously, their own pick isn't falling anywhere near that. So unless they're going to pull in, teams can't make these picks even if they've got these draft picks traded. And they're pulling somebody else's pick, which I think is probably unfair. But that's definitely like what happened with Dallas. It's extremely rare, though, that you're going to go from making the conference finals to being a top 4 pick. Lottery odds allocated based on 2-year records instead. No, I think that would just make tanking worse. I think that would just make it worse. Lottery odds extended to include all play-in teams. Okay. Flatten odds for all lottery teams. Ooh. Truly give everyone in the lottery an even chance? That could be insane. that could be insane. Including play-in teams is cool too. Extending lottery out. It's 14, 15 right now? I'm not a big draft guy. That'd push it to like 18? Something like that. 20? I don't know the exact numbers and all that stuff. That could be interesting too. But ultimately, though, it's pretty cool that we're going to be seeing some of these things. Not all of this stuff. This is all just hypothetical stuff. But we will see some version of some of this stuff as soon as next season. So we'll see what happens, man. So we're going to go ahead and talk about the Clippers stuff from here because that's also very interesting too. I wanted to let you know that Sleeper is the #1 best way to experience and connect over sports together. It's a one-stop shop for all of your sports needs. You can celebrate and chat on games in real time with other users. Get the fastest scores, blazing fast news, and alerts right at your fingertips. Play in fantasy leagues and explore team picks markets within the app so you can enjoy sports the way they are meant to be enjoyed, which is together. Sign up today using promo code Bulletin and you'll get up to $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Team picks are part of Sleeper's regulated activities. They involve risk and outcomes are not guaranteed. Past performance is not indicative of future results. Currently operational in over 25 states. Check out Sleeper today. There is a significant upswing, quotes, in speculation that the quote-unquote NBA hammer is likely to fall on the Clippers for the Kawhi Leonard aspiration scandal, per Sam Amick of the New York Times. I wanted to just kind of elaborate on all this stuff. This has been going on since the offseason, and I know everyone is really skeptical. I've seen skepticism for a lot of different reasons. Just anything you can think of, I've seen it, and I know everyone's pretty skeptical on this. But it does seem like, and that's kind of where we are, it does seem like the NBA is going to have to make a decision here, right? This was a guilty verdict specifically. This was a noticeable shift from earlier in the season when so many seemed to believe that the Leonard aspiration scandal might come and go without any substantive punishment being handed down. I think initially, when you go back to it, Ballmer, the Clippers, everybody involved tried to downplay it and say, hey, this isn't a thing. This is nothing. We didn't know about any. We don't even know how much the players make in these brand deals, etc. Like, we don't know anything. They conned us, all this stuff. That's what it was, right? And that was their stance. And they have since been very open about collaborating with the NBA and everything they need in order to find everything they need to find to come to a decision, or not find, to come to the opposite decision, right? I'm not assuming anything. I just think if you tilt the scale based on everything we've seen, it does seem like the Clippers are guilty. But I've also said in other videos that some of that's just because we have things from that perspective. We don't have much other than Steve Ballmer doing an ill-advised appearance on ESPN at the time. We don't have anything pointing the other side. We don't have anything that says, oh, well, if you line this up like this, like the way we do with the opposite side of things. So I think that's where, from the court of public opinion, if you will, it just screams that these guys are guilty and they need to be punished. So that's mostly the stance I've talked from. But I don't really have, if they genuinely didn't find anything, I don't want, well, not that they didn't find anything, because there's no way they're not going to find stuff, because unless Pablo's making stuff up, there's so much there for them to find. But if they can come on and explain why XYZ doesn't equal the Clippers did XYZ, and there's other ways they can explain it that makes sense, people will be upset, but I think a lot of people would understand and would accept, right? You can't just come out and say, we found nothing. No. People are going to be pissed at that, right? So this is a very delicate situation. We've never seen a situation like this. There have been other like salary cap circumvention things in the past. Absolutely, obviously. We've never seen anything this magnitude for this amount of dollars, this in the spotlight in today's day and age as well, with social media. All like, this is just entirely different. And so from my perspective, I need to see Silver, again, guilty or otherwise, I need to see Silver handle this appropriately. This is almost like a lose-lose for him, because obviously, if he comes out and says we found nothing, people are going to say, oh, you're just trying to protect the richest owner in sports and this and that. And I've seen some other reasons why, he would want to do that, racially motivated. All this, like, I've seen so many things. Like, this is a very nuanced topic. But I think if you go the other way and it says, well, how could you do that? Pablo hates them, this and that, all these other things. So I think they've got to come to the right decision. I think the best thing Silver did was say, hey, this is out of our hands. We're going to give it to a law firm and let them do all the digging that they can do and come to the same decision, or come to a decision for us. And then from there, we will act. And I think that's where this investigation has been ongoing for quite a while. We've heard some information leak from the court proceedings, things like that, that the lawyers are currently involved in and trying to dig and find out. Some of that stuff's come to light. So we know kind of where their train of thought is at. It seems like with the information from the court stuff, the lawyer stuff, is that it does look like the Clippers have been found guilty in their eyes. We're just mostly waiting on a final verdict to come out. But if you think nothing is going to happen, or just nothing, like this is just going to go, they can't sweep this under the rug, right? It's just not going to happen. Do I think they wanted to try to ideally wait until after All-Star break, the All-Star game, all these things? Yeah, absolutely. Right. But I do think something is coming soon. So let me know what you guys think. Another thing to this, I've said this repeatedly. I just don't think it's fair. I just don't think there's any way, shape, or form. And this is another layer to handling this appropriately. I just don't think there's any way, if you're the NBA, Adam Silver, whatever, that you say, okay, we are going to punish the Clippers XYZ. Is that it? Like, because Kawhi is very much, in that situation to blame. Like, is he going to get his contract voided and be able to sign somewhere else and just keep playing? I don't really want to say he needs to get suspended, but that may not be the wrong decision in this case either. Like, what do we do about Kawhi? Like, because I don't want to just see because the Clippers need to, in this situation, the Clippers, again, if guilty, allegedly, right? They would need to get punished. They would need to, the NBA hammer, quote unquote, dropped on them. But Kawhi and the Clippers, while the same, are also different and separate entities. I think there needs to be something imposed specifically for Kawhi. I've seen that as well, where people think nothing's going to happen to Kawhi. He's going to keep on trucking like nothing happened, right? And I don't think that's fair, right? I don't think that's fair to the NBA, the fans, or the Clippers in this situation. You guys got caught together, hypothetically, allegedly. He needs to face some punishment as well. I don't know what that is. Maybe you guys have a better idea, but I think this is very delicate. But ultimately, though, the reason why we're talking about this is because it does seem like we are on the final countdown of this all. We're gonna find out what happened, etc. very soon, and I'm excited about that ultimately coming to light. So thank you so much for tuning in. Hopefully you enjoyed. Make sure to thumbs up and subscribe. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'll see you all next time.